What's crack-a-lackin', my fellow home dogs? It's your old pal Channel Pup, and I come with a little bone to pick with Birds of Prey. Now, keep in mind, this is not a review. This is a personal issue that I have with Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. This isn't really a criticism of the film per se, more just addressing a fundamental that just irks me about this whole film's entire existence. So let's just get right into it. The idea of a film told entirely through the perspective of Harley Quinn is a sound idea. People love this character not for how unrelentingly zany she is, but for how layered she is. The right-hand gal to the Joker, one of the most purely evil characters in all of fiction. Harley Quinn's strength of character comes from how determined she is to find humanity within the Joker, and just how much her love of the Joker motivates her, considering how cruel the Joker can be to her, and considering also how she manages to stay playful and keep a happy face on. She's this broken and, in her heart, innocent woman who's prepared to fight the entire world for love. In the New 52 era of DC comic books starting in the 2010s, Harley received quite a bit of character growth. At long last, she was finally able to break free of the Joker and pursue her own life free from the abuse, growing into her own woman after years of torment, her own DC Comics anti-hero. And while she may never be Dr. Harleen Quinzella she once was, ever again, it doesn't matter because she is Harley Quinn, and there's more to Harley Quinn than just her life with the Joker. This second half, this growth, this emancipation, if you will, is what is explored in Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. And the film begins after Harley Quinn and the Joker are broken up. Harley Quinn is taking on a new chapter. That's what the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn is all about. After years of being overshadowed by the Joker, manipulated and abused, she is finally making her life her own. And I think the film does just about as well with that as it can, but what is Harley Quinn exactly breaking free from? We only really see the Joker and Harley Quinn together in Suicide Squad, and only for 5 minutes, if even that. We do kinda see Harley Quinn's origins, but we don't really see so much of the manipulative, cruel aspect of the Joker. It's more just the Joker being the Joker. Heck, in the extended cut, we even see the Joker just telling her to leave and not even try. The dark world of Harley Quinn was never really explored, and practically not, romantically, she was already separated from the Joker, in a completely separate asylum, hanging with brand new people, taking on a mind of her own. The Joker, of course, does follow her to break her out and give her her freedom back, and they just kinda act like a normal boyfriend and girlfriend, really. So for her emancipation, her separation from the Joker, we're not really gonna feel that triumphant impact of an abuse victim finally breaking free after all these years, when we've only seen the Joker and Harley Quinn on screen together for approximately 5 minutes, and it was very tame. So therefore, Harley Quinn's emancipation can't really be felt, and the best you can really hope for with Harley Quinn's story there is for it to work for what it is. But we're not really getting to experience that part of her story, we're just seeing the ending of that part. Harley Quinn is basically just evolving from there? She's broken up with the Joker for the sake of being independent, but she was already pretty independent in Suicide Squad. There's no real change here. We're just kind of adapting a very isolated part of Harley Quinn's story. Now, I'm gonna acknowledge that I'm aware that Harley Quinn's change of character throughout the comics and going on to Birds of Prey is a product of a very progressive time. While in that toxic, abusive relationship with the Joker, Harley Quinn did have strength of character that was on display, but they actually put it to use with her emancipation storyline in those New 52 comics. Now a stronger and more independent character than before, and this was considered a very important thing for female representation at that time. With Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn, they obviously wanted to make a girl power, all-female-led movie with popular DC Comics characters. If they wanted Harley Quinn to be a part of that, she would have to be broken free from the Joker. But as I say, that means skipping chapters. So they could always hold off off on this movie for a little bit, but at the same time, I'm aware that Warner Brothers is probably aware that the DC Extended Universe thing, this whole franchise, could implode at any moment. So they're just gonna try and do everything they want to do as soon as possible, rolling Harley into the Birds of Prey movie to really make this girl power flick work. And it makes her a catalyst for the film's main threat, as being as she used to be associated with the Joker, there's a lot of people after her, one of which being Black Mask. She's kind of going out into the big bad world on her own. But you could do this story just as easily without the inclusion of Harley Quinn, and I personally feel it would have been better for it. Rather than Harley Quinn, a character who hasn't properly been developed to the point of having this girl power story, and is literally doing this prematurely because the plot calls for it, why not have Batgirl as your lead character? She could be the kind of character that's very much dealing with being overshadowed by the men in her life. Very much considered a sidekick to Batman. She's the daughter of Police Commissioner Jim Gordon. This could be her big breakout into the world of Gotham City's underbelly. As well as that, you could also have Black Mask after her, but her Barbara Gordon persona and not her Batgirl persona, because he wants to get back at Commissioner Gordon, knowing that she is his daughter. I think that sets the thread up pretty well. On top of that, Batgirl is just a far more appropriate choice for a girl power movie, because there's far less baggage that you have to deal with. But on top of that, Batgirl is actually supposed to be in the Birds of Prey. Harley Quinn is not. Now, I know comic book accuracy is not what comic book movies live and die by, and that Birds of Prey is a very creative take on it. But I just think Batgirl being the central character of a Birds of Prey movie and not Harley Quinn is just more of a win-win for all. It would mean that the Birds of Prey actually feel complete and it feels like their movie. It would also mean we could properly explore Harley Quinn as a character later on down the line. And I know some of you guys are thinking, we like Harley Quinn because she's so zany, she brings so much energy to the film. Now look, I understand that Batgirl is not going to bring the same energy to the Birds of Prey movie as Harley Quinn is, but you can still have a lot of fun with the character of Batgirl. She's charismatic, she's known to have a little fun. I know that her blend of crime fighting is not going to be as unique as Harley Quinn's is, but I just think the film would be better for it, and it would leave the door open for better Harley Quinn stories. Birds of Prey may work for what it is, but at what cost? The cost of a far more impactful story. But then there's also another cost to this. Birds of Prey is a girl power film. This is something that goes out of its way to represent the female demographic watching these movies. The cast is led by females, it's made mostly by females, and that's great. That representation does matter. But is there just one little bit of representation that we're sweeping under the rug here? Harley Quinn became an allegory for domestic abuse victims. And domestic abuse is a bigger problem than many of you would realize. In my hometown, every other day in the paper there's reports of domestic abuse. Poke your head out the window and you'll probably hear shouting. I live in a shithole. And maybe it's not even just domestic abuse. You could be growing up in a toxic environment. You could have toxic parents, just toxic people around you. If you have that kind of dynamic with someone that's kind of just inescapable, it could be manipulation, it could be violence. That's another vulnerable demographic not being represented because you wanted to have Harley Quinn as the main character for their girl power flick when they could have just used Batgirl. They wanted Harley Quinn for this part of representation when characters like Wonder Woman or heck the rest of the Birds of Prey are already representing female independence. Harley Quinn represented the hardships that abuse victims go through, and her batting for the Joker's team didn't really change that. It just made the Joker that bit worse, that bit less human. And before you say that I'm pulling all this out of my ass and I can't speak for these people, I got a friend of a friend who is now out of an abusive relationship, and she used to be a huge fan of Harley Quinn. But every time she looks at this new Harley Quinn of the DC Extended Universe, she feels very emotional. She almost can't bear to look at it, because as far as she's concerned, they took Harley Quinn away from her to make her the it girl. Harley Quinn is now a strong, independent female character, but at the cost of one that represented a different demographic entirely. And you really can't tell me that there isn't strength in domestic abuse victims. And this is what I find so weird about this now, is like the Joker and Harley Quinn. We've now got the Joker movie portraying the Joker as more of a victim of the system and society, the tortured soul that Harley Quinn very much believed him to be, and Harley Quinn is now just this party girl who does whatever she wants and acts as an anti-hero. And it's all out of order. It's all going in the wrong order. I'm fine with them doing the Emancipation of Harley Quinn's story, so long as they properly explore the world of Harley Quinn. And I have to say, I think the animated series does that a lot better, as we do see that there is kind of a rebound factor to Harley Quinn when it comes to the Joker. The whole thing's a lot more elastic. I figured one way the emancipation of Harley Quinn could have worked in this film would be if they had her go all this way, only for her to snap back to the Joker at the last second. And that way you have Harley Quinn kind of fighting a losing battle against her own sort of instincts. But no, if she doesn't have perfect instincts, then she's not a proper independent character. I think Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn would have been just a whole lot better if we just had one film between that and Suicide Squad, exploring the darkness of Harley Quinn's world and showing how inescapable it is. And then we have her escape the inescapable, cementing her strength, earning her that happy ending. Well, speaking of bettering yourself, let's move on to today's sponsor. Before we wrap up, today's video is sponsored by CustomKetoDiet.com. Their custom meal plan service was designed to help people of every gender all over the world turn their lives around and take charge of their health and figure. The Custom Keto Diet is a brand new product that allows someone to create their very own keto diet plan based on their food preferences, daily activity levels, height, weight, and target weight goals. They use scientific research and proven studies to create personalized ketogenic diet plans that maximize fat burning via the correct calories and macronutrients for each individual. The customer's keto diet plan is accessible to access immediately after payment, and a link is in the description below. Hey, perhaps this is how the Birds of Prey stay in shape, who knows? So Birds of Prey works for what it is, but I think it feels better as a final chapter of something more before it, giving way to a new chapter in Harley Quinn's life. And because of how much Harley Quinn there is to this film, it really does feel like the Birds of Prey themselves, the title characters, really got the shem. What do you guys think? Comment below and discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, why don't you head over to channelpup.net, where we got a blog page called Dr. Blogtopus, but as well as that, you can also buy merch, such as this awful t-shirt. But if you want to be a part of the super fun Kennel Club, why not hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below, you can check out the links to my Patreon and my Twitter. I think that would be pretty sweet for both of us. What do you say, champ? But in all seriousness now, thank you so much for watching, my fellow home dogs. Have a great day, because you and I both know you've earned it. I'll catch you next time.